RocSports, I'm back with another video. As you can tell by the title, this is my breakdown and prediction on the Keith Thurman Mariobarrios fight tomorrow night. Let's get right into it. So, today's Friday, we just finished weigh-ins. Both fighters made weight. Keith Thurman and Mariobarrios. What can you say about this matchup? I feel like for both guys, it's gonna tell a lot. But at the same time, this is definitely more important for Keith Thurman. If Mariobarrios was to lose this fight, he should lose this fight, you know? But much respect to Mariobarrios, first and foremost, for taking this fight off a loss and him moving up to a new weight class and one of the premier weight classes at that, you know? Regardless of what you want to say about Keith Thurman, he's still a top welterweight. So yeah, as I was saying, both fighters are coming off a loss. Keith Thurman, no, first let's talk about Mariobarrios. Again, much respect to him for moving up a whole new weight class. Also coming off a stoppage loss to Tank Davis, which was last year, what was it, June, if I'm not mistaken? Whenever it was though. He put up a hell of a fight against Tank. And he just showed himself well, man. He had a lot of success against Tank. Yes, he got stopped, but there's no shame in that. He held his own. Yes, Tank is a smaller guy. I know he is. But I like what I saw. I always like Mariobarrios. He's just one of those fighters to me I don't think he's special or great, but he's a good fighter. And a fight like this for Keith Thurman, if he's not himself, or if he is aging, or if he is done, his heart's halfway in and halfway not, he could definitely lose this fight. So don't misinterpret what I'm saying by saying that Mariobarrios is expected to lose and Keith Thurman should win this fight. But at the same time, he's a live dog, I would say. When you factor in Keith Thurman hasn't fought since Pacquiao, man. And that was, I seen a stat, and I think that was 2.5 years. 26, no, I don't know the exact months, but 2.5 years for sure. And that's not good for obvious reasons. That's just not good. A lot of it is injury. He's just aging. His hunger ain't there the same. When Keith was coming up, Keith was a killer, man. He was a killer. He was a dog for sure. He wanted everybody. And, you know, once he started getting some success, just like most fighters, he started to lose a little bit of the desire. What's the famous quote for boxing? The infamous quote by legendary marvelous Marvin Hagler. What is it? It's hard to wake up motivated or something like that when you're waking up in silk sheets or something, you know? Like, that's real. And Keith Thurman is somebody that's, you know, is a testament to that. But this is a crossroads fight for me from the standpoint of, if Keith Thurman loses his fight, his career is essentially over. If Mariobarrios wins this fight, what does this do for him? Let's take a minute and really think. If Mariobarrios was to come in here and look impressive and beat Keith Thurman, what would this do for him? That'll be huge for his career. But if he loses though, it's still okay, in my opinion. You're new to the weight class, and he didn't even ask for you know, a soft touch. I don't want to disrespect no fighters by saying a bum or nothing like that, but he didn't ask for a soft touch. When you think of welterweights, aside from, let's say, established welterweights, because obviously Boots and Virgil Ortiz, they coming. But if you look at established welterweights, take aside Errol and Spence, Errol and Terrence, who you gonna say? Your next is gonna be Ugas and Keith Thurman. Regardless of what anybody want to say, man, when Keith Thurman is right, this dude is good for boxing. He's entertaining. He know how to talk on the mic, and he can fight his ass off. A lot of people want to sit up there and say he got his ass whooped by, and excuse my language, but a lot of people want to sit up there and say he got destroyed by Pacquiao. I didn't see it that way. I felt like once Keith settled down early in that fight, after he got dropped and settled down, man, he really started bringing it to Pacquiao, especially when he came forward. But like he said himself, he was just a couple punches away from probably getting a decision, but that's neither here nor there. He put up a good showing against an all-time great in Pacquiao. But let's get back to this fight. This fight, first and foremost, I have to address the pay-per-view. I love Keith Thurman. I like Keith Thurman, let me say that, because I am an Errol and Terence Crawford fan. I'm not going to sit up here and explain. I explained in the past how I'm fans of both of them, so I don't care. I'm neutral when it comes to them. But I'm a fan of both of them. But I do like Keith Thurman. And that's okay. Because why? Because I'm a fan of boxing first. Before any fighter, I'm a fan of the sport. And again, he's good for the sport when he's active. But in terms of this fight, this is not a pay-per-view fight, man. I like both guys, but this is not a pay-per-view fight, and by any means. And then when you do factor in that both of these guys are one coming off a loss, coming off a career-long layoff, and then you charging $75 for this fight, like I don't get it. I don't get the logic behind that. It just don't make sense. I won't be buying this fight. I will be streaming this fight somewhere. I think as boxing fans, we got to start standing up, man. Yeah, we support the fighters, but there's other ways to support the fighters by just buying pay-per-views that shouldn't be pay-per-view. I said the same thing with Tank. Give us some worthy opponents, man, if it's going to be pay-per-view. Keith Thurman should not be fighting on pay-per-view if it's not against Errol or Terence. Even Boots and them, that's a great fight. That's a hell of a fight if he was to fight Boots or Virgil Ortiz or even Ugas. But those are not pay-per-view fights to me. Those are great fights, but those are not pay-per-view fights. I would be more willing to pay for those than this one, though. But in terms of the actual fight, does Mariobarrios have a chance? I give him a slight chance, and it's because, again, Keith has been out for 2.5 years. Mariobarrios in the past has shown to have good. He's not technically a inside fighter, I would say, but he can fight. I think he do have some good moments, and he fight in spurts in terms of fight on the inside. And what is Keith Thurman Achilles heel that everybody knows? His body. Keith Thurman is somebody who's been hurt in the past multiple times. He's only been dropped once, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was just once, but to Pacquiao. But he's been hurt numerous of times to the body. I remember when, obviously, the most notable one is when Bundu hurt him. But Bundu hurt him. Sean Porter hurt him to the body. Danny Garcia hurt him. Obviously, Pacquiao hurt him. And I'm missing somebody. Josecito Lopez hurt him. But, so, I think Mariobarrios' best chance to win this fight is if he catch Keith in the middle of exchanges. He's going to have to throw like Keith is throwing. Yes, that's very dangerous because regardless of what you want to say about Keith Thurman, the dude can punch. Pacquiao said of himself, Keith's heavy-handed, man. He's heavy-handed. Keith is very heavy-handed. So, for real, one thing about Keith, he do have power. Definitely have power. And with Barrios moving up in weight, I don't know how, I don't know how he's going to be, how his chin is going to hold up, or his body for that matter. He was hurt by Tank, and obviously Tank's a big puncher, but he is a smaller guy. Does Tank have more power than Keith Thurman? Who knows? But we know that Keith Thurman has power. But with that being said, I think his best chance to win is in between shots. Because Keith Thurman can load up sometimes. He likes to explode out of, after luring in his opponents and, trying to set traps, so to say. Keith he's a trap setter. He definitely likes to wind up them. So if you catch Keith in between one of those shots, it could pay dividends and it could be huge. And with him having this layoff, there's no telling how he's going to react. Definitely you have to, I'm sure Virgil is going to implement something where they get in that body work, because the book that's been out on Keith Thurman was his, what he's vulnerable with. So obviously I think that's his best chance of winning. Excuse the train. And in terms of Keith Thurman, I think Keith just had to be Keith, man. This is a big fight for him, and I think that Keith is looking at this fight like a tune-up, honestly. I think he respects Barrios, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he respects him as much in terms of this level and at this weight class. It is levels in boxing, for sure. And 147 is a totally different ball game than 140, that's number one. And Barrios wasn't even a top fighter at 140. He was a good fighter, but, his one step-up fight, he lost. So, his biggest fight, he lost. But you can say the same for Keith Thurman. But in terms of resume, you can't compare it. Keith Thurman has one of the best resumes in boxing, if you ask me. Can't nobody say nothing about Keith Thurman in the ring. And what I mean by that is, I'm not saying that he's unbeatable, because obviously he lost. But he's a very entertaining fighter. You gonna see Keith hurt somebody, or he's gonna get hurt. What can you say was a boring fight that Keith Thurman was in? You can go on and on in terms of the guys who we fought, like from Sean Porter to Bundu to Benny Garcia to Pacquiao to Lopez. All of those are exciting fights. Since I've been watching boxing live, Keith Thurman, some of my favorite fights have been with him in it, you know? And it's always, as Triple G would say, a drama show when Keith Thurman's fighting. So I think Keith can win this fight, honestly, whichever way he want to win it. I believe he can win it coming forward. I believe that he can win it on the back foot, possibly on the inside. You know he's going to use lateral movement in certain moments, but I really want to see Keith come forward in this fight. I think he's best when he's coming forward. Not saying he can't box, because he can. Very good legs, but I think he's best when he's coming forward and letting his hands go. When you go and look at Keith Thurman, a lot of times when he has success in fights is when he's coming forward. Is when he's letting his hands go and being aggressive. Speaking back to when he was on the come up, he was a killer, man. He was getting these dudes up out of there, and he was doing it early. Even as Tone's recent. Yes, he got dropped in the Pacquiao fight, but before that fight, the Josecito fight, what he dropped Josecito in the 3rd round, he came out guns blazing. And I think that he's going to do the same here. If I had to pick a knockout, I would obviously go with Keith. Obviously. Because Keith has shown me in the past that even when he's hurt, his tactics in terms of him being hurt and survival are a little like head scratching, so to say. It's not textbook, so to say, in terms of grappling and, you know, doing the proper movements or making the proper movements. But he know how to survive, man. Call it running or whatever, he know how to survive. Even Pacquiao, when Pacquiao had him hurt, he couldn't get him up out of there. And we can go on and on. Josecito, man, he had him rocked. And I thought Keith was done in that fight. But again, to his credit, he survived. So yeah, I'm picking Keith Thurman for sure. I'm picking him, but I just don't know how. I would love to see him get the knockout. And again, I like Mariobarrios. But I don't think that if he was to lose this fight, if he was to lose back-to-back fights and get knocked out by Tank and Keith Thurman, I don't think that that's necessarily like, you know, career-ending type thing. But it will be interesting to see where both fighters go from here if either one of them was to lose, you know. If Keith Thurman lose, where does he go from here? If Barrios lose, where does he go from here? Does he go back down to 140? I think it all depends on his performance. But I'm picking Keith Thurman, and I really want to go knockout, but I'm going to say decision with him dropping Barrios a couple times. Possibly, yeah. I'm going to go with Keith Thurman, unanimous decision with 2 knockdowns. I think that Barrios is going to have moments in this fight, though. He will have some good moments. But I'm not going to be too long. I'm going to leave it at that. This is RocSports. Stay tuned for more videos. I'm gonna have a post-fight reaction. If I have a little delay on my channel, I'm entering fatherhood. I'm entering fatherhood, going to the hospital on Sunday. So just still bear with me. I'm trying to get some pre-recorded videos out so I can drop while I'm, you know, in the hospital and recovering and coming back as well. But stay tuned with me, y'all. This is RocSports. Stay tuned for more videos and checking out.